Hello, welcome to the 80 Literary and Jury Charge. We're going to start off with some interesting fun facts. Ready? This is on boxing lingo. Pity pats, punches with no power that are used solely to rack up points in a round. Mouse, a protruding bruise on a boxer's head. Walkout bout, a minor fight that takes place after the main event when many patrons are getting up and leaving. Shoe shine, a flurry of quick punches made with a vertical motion similar to polishing a shoe shine cloth. All right. Moving on to our next drill, I have some jury instructions that we started, and we're going to finish those. Okay, here we go. Ready? You must not talk about this case with anyone. Do not let anyone talk to you about the case. You must not do any research on the internet or anywhere else. Avoid reading any media accounts about this case. That's obvious stuff. A lot of jury instructions are obvious. Others are a little bit more complicated, but this is the law. I just read it to you, and you will follow it. Now you can say, I'm on a murder case. It's going to take 7 to 11 weeks. Other than that, you can't say anything to anybody, not even other jurors. You can talk about all you want when the case is over. Wear your badge so others will know you're jurors and not to talk around you. The attorneys, I've told them already to avoid you, and I don't think they're going to do anything wrong at all, but we want to avoid the appearance of impropriety. Not only do we want to avoid improprieties, but even the appearance. Next, we will determine if any of you should be excused because jury service would impose an undue financial hardship. The law is very strict in granting hardships. The law views jury service not only as a privilege of citizenship, but also obligation of citizenship. We're all there when you want the fire department to put your house out or you're flooded out and you want them to save you. It could be a two-way street. It should be a two-way street. If we only selected jurors that had nothing to do, we wouldn't have a good cross section. That's why we do these things, these kinds of things. Okay? These are important decisions, and we need society to make them. And in a moment, we'll go through these hardship parts. Okay? So we're going to have the two groups of people out there right now. The people who can serve the 7 to 11 weeks with all the spaces that we have. But that's okay. Spaces are okay. It gives you a chance to do some of your own things that you have to do. We have that group of people. That group I'm sending down to the jury assembly room to fill out the questionnaire, then to go home and return May 3rd for actual in-person voir dire by the attorneys to select the final 12. Then there's those people who have a situation, got a vacation, or you have a new job that you just started and you can't take time off. Things like that. We'll talk about those things. The people who can serve the time. I want you to, on the podium, are two pieces of paper. One is the schedule, and the other is an order from me telling you what to do. I want you to take one of each of those pieces of paper, go down to the jury assembly room, get a questionnaire from the jury commissioner, fill it out, and come back on May 3rd. All of you that can serve the time, go ahead and take those two pieces of paper and go on down to the jury assembly room. All right. My next article that I have is from Congressional Record, and the subject is Distinguished Government Employee. So, you're going to hear championed, underdog, federal, Kathleen, Environmental Protection Agency, monumental, priorities, government, quasi-public corporations, utility, let's see here, characterization, voluntarily, compensation, virtually, let's see here, outstanding, federal administrator Award. Chairman Tim Odell. Professional. Departure. Dull-witted. And that's it. So we're going to get started. Now this is a little bit on the difficult side, but I'm going to read this at 60. So that's why I'm going to read it at 60, because it is difficult. All right, here we go. Mr. Speaker, in a time when the government is losing the talents and services of many of its most experienced and valuable employees to retirement, the Department of Environmental Protection Agency, run by Kathleen H. Harkins, will sadden many people when she leaves. Kathleen Harkins is an example of the truly dedicated, selfless individual that Washington holds as a shining example to newcomers. Kathleen Harkins has distinguished herself as a unique, career-minded person who always championed for the underdog. Kathleen retired last May after 30 years as an employee of the federal government. Kathleen's latest post as head of the Environmental Protection Agency gave her more recognition than she had ever received in her 23 years of service in and about Washington. As head of the Environmental Protection Agency, Kathleen had to coordinate the programs developed at the national level and fill the needs of each of the individual states. This in itself is a monumental task. Kathleen has seen the issues and priorities of the government and of the environment change. Kathleen has been able to work effectively with large companies, with the quasi-public corporations, with the utility companies, and with the city planners to use and bring their goals into one common goal that strives for the good of all. In sharp contrast to the characterization of a government employee being a lazy, dull-witted human being, Kathleen has voluntarily worked overtime without compensation and has virtually remained on call 24 hours a day should an environmental crisis develop. Kathleen truly deserves to be recommended for the Outstanding Federal Administrator Award. I heartily endorse the nomination of Kathleen Harkins by Chairman Tim Odell. She is one of the world's outstanding professionals. All right. I've got an article on secrets of survivors. The trials of life are far less important than how one deals with them. And this is the secrets of survivors. Now, if we don't get through all of it, I will finish it in the next literary and jury charge class. Here we go. Ready? And I'll read this at 80. Ellen seemed to have it all. She was active in the community, married to a college professor, and the mother of 2 grown children. Then Ted, her husband, was felled by a massive stroke that affected his balance and left him barely able to speak intelligibly. Unable to afford institutional care, Ellen brought him home. Ellen's world had fallen apart, but she did not succumb. Instead, she devised ingenious ways to help her husband adapt to life in a wheelchair and wrote a book about their experience to give courage to others in similar straits. Above all, she made sure Ted was still part of life by taking him to concerts, plays, and even on a Caribbean cruise. She taught him to walk a little, to speak more clearly, and together they continued to dream of a long-planned trip to Australia. Sydney was brought up on Cat Island in the Bahamas at age 16, with only a year and a half of schooling and $3 in his pocket. He moved to New York City. There, he slept at first on a rooftop and got a job as a dishwasher. Although he knew nothing about acting, Sydney responded to a want ad listed by the African American Theater. When he couldn't read all the words in the script, the director interrupted his audition and said, "Stop wasting my time." The young man walked away more determined than ever. He bought a radio and for hours listened to people's voices, trying to enunciate as clearly as they did. At the restaurant where he worked, he found a waiter who helped him learn to read better. Later, Sydney went back to the theater and persuaded officials to let him take acting lessons. He resolved to become not only the best black actor in the world, but the best actor. He is Sidney Poitier, and he has come a long way toward fulfilling that ambition. These are survivors, people who find themselves in tough circumstances and bravely overcome them. They are struck down by illness and catastrophe, assailed by grief and failure, treated unfairly or betrayed. Yet, they not only survive, they confront their stresses and sorrows in ways that deepen their lives. They go on with grace, designation, and courage. Okay, we're going to stop there. I will finish this. And it was supposed to be distinction, not designations. Sorry about that. All right. And that concludes our literary and jury charge. And we will finish this article in our next class. Have a great day.